الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مغير الظالمين مضحك الحاربين والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي اسمه في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتليهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد عن حسين بن علي عليهم السلام كأن الدنيا لم تكن وكأن الآخرة لم تزل. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Imamiyya, for the enlightenment of the graves of the Marhumin and of the graves of the Shahada and Siddiqeen, for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, and for the safety of all the Azadars of Sayyid al-Shahada, please recite aloud Salat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim, one that has given us another opportunity to sit in the remembrance of our Abdullah. Over the last few nights we have been discussing and looking at the deviations that caused Karbala, those social, those that were spiritual. Over the last 3 nights we have looked at those things that were not present or that were present in the army of Yazid that caused them to stand against Abu Abdullah. We spoke about the fact that they had a lack of remembrance of Allah within their lives, and this as a result led them to take part in the killing of Abu Abdullah. Then we looked at the issue of hypocrisy, munafiqat, and how that affected the army of Yazid and how that made them stand against Abu Abdullah. And then yesterday, that lack of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but having a lot of the bad fear, that sort of fear that was attached to losing something of the dunya. Please recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tonight we will look at the topic of determination. It's what makes a person strong, determination. It's something that the army of Abu Abdullah had, and something that the army of Yazid lacked. That determination to progress towards Allah, to be alongside the Imam. Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi says there are 3 signs of a weak person. The first is qasrul himmah, that this person lacks determination. This is what makes them weak. The second is za'fur ra'i, that they're indecisive. They don't have that ability to make a firm decision. And then Imam says killatul hila, and they waver between ideologies. They're sometimes with this side, at other times they're with this side. Whoever presents a strong enough argument to them, they go and join that group. But if an opposing group comes forward and presents another argument, they'll go and join that group. Or when they see where their benefit lies, they will go to that group. So they'll see that one group is losing favor, so they'll lose this group, they'll leave this group and come into the other group that is now gaining strength. And we have many of those throughout history. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, nothing but determination makes a person ascend the realms of spirituality or gain closeness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must be determined in order to gain that closeness towards Allah. You can't have, as I said previously, that lackadaisical approach which many of us have. I get up in the morning and I think, well, what I'll do is, if I have to wake up for Fajr, I'll set my alarm so that it goes off maybe half an hour before sunrise. And then I'll pray, and then what I'll do is, I'll stay up till sunrise and then I can go about my business. And also, I don't become part of that hadith which says that it's makruh to sleep before sunrise. So those that wake up at the time of Fajr, then it is makruh again to sleep until the sun has risen. But in reality, the ideal time for me to wake up is bang on the time of Fajr, when Fajr comes, or just before that. Because those are the times, those are the nights of dua. Those are the final moments of dua. As one teacher of akhlaq put it to me, that it's those final moments that are leaving that are the main ones. The final moments of those nights. Those last 15, 20, 30 minutes of the night as it escapes and turns into Fajr, those are the times for you to stand in dua. It's quite easy to wake up another 15 minutes early and pray Salatul Layl. And then the Imam said, the importance of Salatul Layl is such, it is mustahab namaz. It's accepted that it is mustahab namaz, but it is the only mustahab namaz that you can do qaza of. So you can wake up and think, right, because I missed my Salatul Layl, I can do the qaza of Salatul Layl. What? And even then, Salatul Layl is based on 11 rakats. Yes? 4 sets of 2 with the niyat of Salatul Layl. 2 rakat namaz with the niyat of namaz al-shafa. 1 rakat namaz which is the soul of Salatul Layl, which is Salatul Vitr. The ulama say that if you cannot wake up in the middle of the night to pray, then pray straight after Salatul Isha. This is how recommended it is. Or pray it just before you go to bed, if you can't wake up before Fajr. So pray it before you go to bed. And then, if it's too much for you to pray all 11 rakats, just pray namaz al-shafa and namaz al-vitr. Those 2 namaz. And then they say, if that is too much for you to do, then just pray the 1 rakat of namaz al-vitr, because that is the heart and soul. That is the importance of Salatul Layl. When a person stands in the middle of the night, or he stands in front of his Lord, and everyone around him is asleep, and he raises his hands, and he says those 70 astaghfirullahs. He says those 300 al-afs. When no one else is around, and he is now doing munajat with his Lord, conversing with his Lord and telling him all of the troubles that he has within his life. When all of those things, when everyone else, no one else is there to see me, Salatul Layl is such an act that to bring about pride in it is very difficult, unless you go the next day and say, oh, I'm really tired, I was praying Salatul Layl the night before it. Because no one else is there. It's just you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That connection with Allah, the silence of the night, and you're telling Allah every single one of your problems. Why is it that when the Holy Prophet gives his will to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, Ya Ali, alayka bis salatil layl, alayka bis salatil layl, alayka bis salatil layl. 3 times he mentions it. And I advise you to pray Salatul Layl. I remind you of Salatul Layl. I remind you of Salatul Layl. Why is it then when Aba Abdullah is leaving to go for the final time, the only thing that he says to his sister is that, oh my sister Zainab, remember me in your Salatul Layl. Any problem in your life, if it's a problem of rizq, if it's any sort of family problem, if it's illness, if it's someone in your family who's not well, if there's been a death, if there's some sort of sorrow in your life, the solution to it is Salatul Layl. To stand in the middle of the night and converse with your Lord. If only we could understand the importance, if we could just implement it into our lives and have that determination to change our lives spiritually, not just to come to the masjid, sit on my phone and text my friends, or maybe browse Facebook, don't know, whatever they're doing in the corner. Determination, that is what is needed if you want to gain that closeness towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Having that determination. When we look throughout the Holy Quran, we find a number of stories that come to us in regards to determination. In Surah Al-Kahf, and Surah Al-Kahf is the surah of the Quran that is recommended to recite on the morning of Jum'ah. On the morning of Jum'ah is recommended to recite this surah. It's the surah that Hadith says that Imam al-Hasan would read this surah and weep. In this surah there are a number of different stories that appear. One of the stories that appears is the one of Zulqarnain. Zulqarnain, who was Zulqarnain? Some, various people have come up with various notions as to who Zulqarnain was. Some say he was a prophet, some say he was Alexander the Great, some say he was just a conqueror, some say he was a noble person. Regardless of who Zulqarnain was, we know this much from the Holy Quran and Hadith, that Zulqarnain was a good person. Zulqarnain was a mu'min, he was a muwahhid, he was a monotheist, and Zulqarnain was courageous and he was determined in his mission. Zulqarnain is the one that Hazrat Khizr goes and finds the fountain of youth with. Those of you that have heard the story of Hazrat Khizr, it's a very beautiful story as to how Hazrat Khizr became immortal and how he was able to live until now, and how the other 3 living prophets are still living to this day. What was it that they did? And these are great stories with a lot of meaning in them if we want to tell our children. Other than the 1,000,001 novels that are available, the ones of the prophets. And you read the stories of Zulqarnain, and they're, even from the Holy Quran, when you come across them, there's no better way to explain it than they're an adventure, at least. There comes a point when Zulqarnain reaches a group of people, the Quran says. These were a group of people that were weak. They didn't have that determination. They were just being bullied by a tribe, according to Hadith, of cannibals, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Gog Magog. They were coming and they were terrorizing these people that Hazrat Zulqarnain had come to. So they, seeing Hazrat Zulqarnain, seeing the courage of Zulqarnain, seeing the army of Zulqarnain, they say to him that if you help us get rid of these people, then we are willing to give you anything. Hazrat Zulqarnain says to them that I don't need anything from you except help me with your determination. They say, how? He says, bring for me bronze and iron and leave the rest to me. And that's where he builds the wall against Ya'juj and Ma'juj and blocks them out. And whether or not they will come back before the rise of the Imam, they will break out. These are all discussions to be had. With that determination though, there is that heartache that he feels for his fellow human beings. Thus he is helping them. Otherwise he could have moved on. The same concept again reappears in Surah Yasin. وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلٌ يَسْعَى. Then came running to these people a man. He came running into the city. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اتَّبِعُوا الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And he cried out to his people that, O people, obey the Prophet. It was a man from Ali Yasin. Some say his name was Habib Mu'ajjir, if I'm not mistaken. However, the first name was Habib. He was from Ali Yasin, one of the followers of Nabi Isa. He comes running to his people in order to tell them to obey Nabi Isa, because they had turned away from the teachings of Nabi Isa. Instead of listening to him, they come and they start to attack him. They start to attack him, beat him. They beat him so much that they kill him. But as this youth is dying, the voice comes, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Enter into Jannah. As he was entering into Jannah, he still turns around and says, قَالَ يَا لَيْتَ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. If only my people had known. Even at that point, even though he has been beaten by his people, he has been killed by his people, his heart still aches for the salvation of his people. This is an ayat that we read all the time. There is one man who felt for his people. He wasn't a prophet. He wasn't a ma'soom. He was just someone who followed the teachings that he had been given, and he was determined to help those people that were not on the path, that were deviating from the path. He comes to his people to help them. Each and every one of us in this room has a responsibility to help our community. To help the community progress in whichever way, shape or form. If it means to dedicate an hour a week to help clean the masjid, or if it means to go out into the wider public and represent the Shia faith, or if it means to teach the children Quran, or if it means to teach them the basics of the deen, or if it's just simply to go and pick someone up who cannot make it to the Majalis, this is our duty. This is what is being told to us. That this person is an example for you. His heart went out to his people. His heart went out to his people. He felt their pain. Do I feel the pain of my people? I'm not asking you to look over to Palestine. I'm not asking you to look over to Lebanon. That goes without saying. I'm not asking you to look at the oppressions around the world. I'm asking you to look within the community itself. Do I feel the pain that there is no one at Jum'ah, but yet in the Majlis there's here at least 70 or 80 people, but yet in Jum'ah we struggle to have one line? Do I feel that pain? وَإِذَا رَأَوْا تِجَارَةً أَوْ لَهْوًا انفَضُّوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا قُلْ مَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ اللَّهْوِ وَمِنَ التِّجَارَةِ. And say to the people that it is better for you to come to the mosque to stand in the zikr of Allah on the day of Jummah than for you to go out in order to work, or for you to go out and go in worldly affairs, in lahv, seeking worldly entertainment. Do I feel that pain? That Jummah will be the day when my Imam will rise, and I know that he will rise one of these days, but yet I can't come to Jummah. Does my heart burn? Do I feel that pain? Or is it's only Jummah? I don't need to come. Or is it that we're now comparing other wajibat with other wajibat? Everything is the same. Yes, Jummah is mustahab in the ghaybat of the Imam. When the Imam comes, it will become wajib. The same example they give from the fifth Imam. He says that teach your children to pray salah, your boys from the age of 8 and your girls from the age of 5. Start enforcing salah upon them. Get them to pray regularly. They're only going to pray regularly if mum and dad are praying regularly. But then, the reason he gives it, he says that, what do you think? Or the ulama give it as to why the Imam has said this. He says, what do you think that after 14 years of not doing a single sajda or seeing anyone else do a sajda, that magically when they become baligh, they're going to turn around and say, I'm going to start praying namaz. The same thing is with Jum'ah. Jum'ah becomes wajib when the Imam is here. In the ghaybat of the Imam, it is for us to train ourselves to be here every Jum'ah in order to hear and in order to better the society. One of the khutbahs of Jum'ah is about the society that you live in. And how for you to live better in that society. If we cannot establish Jum'ah, something simple like Jum'ah, then where is the hope for us? This man from Surah that is talked about in Surah Yasin, he came to his people to help them. He probably knew that he was going to get killed. But still that determination was there. That want to succeed, that desire to succeed, that desire to say that I have done what I have done, and now I can stand in front of Allah and say, Allah, I did my bit. Determination. We look towards the Quran again. Hazrat Musa, he takes his people. They see him strike the Nile, it parts. They see him and they hear about the snake, his stick, his asa turning into a snake. They see the shining hand. They cross the Nile. They see the destruction of Fir'aun. But yet when they reach the other end, they come to a city and they see idol worshippers and they turn around and say, Musa, construct for us an idol as well, bigger than their idol. Because they were weak. They didn't have that faith. Hazrat Musa had the determination, but his people didn't have the determination to continue to follow this new path that had given them liberation. Why is that determination so important in this time, in this age? Because we don't have an imam that we can see. We don't have a prophet we can see. We don't have a divinely appointed guide that can come and show us the ways, so that determination to follow the deen is totally upon ourselves. To follow the rulings of our maraji, to look at the books of history, to read hadith, to read Quran, and be determined to stay upon this path until the arrival of the Imam of our time, Imam al-Mahdi, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajul Shahadat ibn Rabi' is one of these people in history who became Muslim at a late age, and then he spent time with the Holy Prophet
was with the Holy Prophet, and then Saqifa happened, and he went with the people of Saqifa, and then Imam Ali came to the Khilafat, so then he came with Imam Ali. Then when he saw that Muawiyah was rising, he left Imam Ali to join with Muawiyah. After Muawiyah, he went and he saw that Yazid is gaining strength. He went and joined straight away with Yazid. He's in Karbala against Abu Abdullah in the army of Ibn Ziyad. After the event of Karbala, this person now joins Mukhtar. He now joins Mukhtar because now he sees that it's swinging the way for Mukhtar. Then when he sees that the revolution of Mukhtar is losing, he goes and joins Ibn Zubayr. This man lived for about 80 years, but had 7 essentially different political stances throughout his life. And that's why we look back at his life and say this guy was, he didn't gain anything. He didn't benefit from anything. All these different groups he went to, he just didn't have that determination, that desire to actually stick to one of them or stick to the true one. That was the one of the Ahlul Bayt. Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha gives some advice. He says, Kun kan nahla, be like the bee. Be like the honeybee. He says, إِذَا أَكَلَتْ طَيِّبَةً. Be like the honeybee, because the honeybee, when it goes into the garden, it goes from flower to flower, it goes and consumes from the best of flowers, the best of nectar. وَإِذَا وَزَعَتْ طَيِّبَةً. And then the result of consuming that good is that it produces pure honey for your consumption. And then Imam says, and this honeybee, if it sits upon a flower, or if 1,000 of them sit upon a bush, they do not break the branches. They do not break the twigs. What lesson is Amir al-Mu'mineen trying to give us? He's saying that take the good. And when you take the good, make sure you give good back. Make sure the words that you speak are nice. They're good words. And then, if you're sitting in a gathering, then don't try and destroy that place that you are sitting. Don't try and destroy that community. Don't try and bring fasad within that. Sit there. Say good. Take in the good. Give the people good and keep it together. Not sit there and start trampling and destroying and everything. This is what Amir al-Mu'mineen is doing. And he's the perfect example of this. Utilizing the best of the opportunity, utilizing every opportunity that he had in order to gain that knowledge, closeness towards Allah. He didn't need it, but it was an example for us. When the ayahs 12 and 13 of Surah Mujadila descend, which are commonly known as the ayah of Najwa, the ayah of whispering. What happened is that there was a time when the people would come to the Holy Prophet of Islam and sit next to him in the mosque and whisper a question into his ear. And they would ask him, and then the Holy Prophet would start answering, then someone else would come and start answering. And the whole time of the Holy Prophet was taken up by these people, asking and asking and asking. If he would go home, they would come to his house for dinner, and then they would stay there for a long time, until the ayat would come down, allow the Prophet to sleep, allow the Prophet to rest. He doesn't just have to deal with your problems, he has to do his ibadat. He has to pray to Allah. In this ayah of Najwa, these 12 and 13, it says, if you wish to come to the Holy Prophet, then know that you must give the sadaqah of 1 dirham. Amir al-Mu'mineen, when talking about this ayat, says, I am the only person that acted upon this ayat. No one else in mankind acted upon this ayat. Why? Amir al-Mu'mineen takes 1 dinar, gets change for it, gets 10 dirhams. and goes back to Rasulullah 10 times to ask 10 different questions from Rasulullah. And inshallah in the later nights, it may be tomorrow, the day after, if I get an opportunity, I'll go through all of the 10 questions. But the first question that Amir al-Mu'mineen, he gives the sadaqah of 1 dirham, he comes to the Holy Prophet, he says, Ya Rasulullah, I have a question. He says, Man wafa? What is wafa? What is loyalty? What is loyalty? And the Holy Prophet of Islam says that loyalty is bearing witness to La ilaha illallah and then sticking with it. Not saying La ilaha illallah and saying, I'm only going to turn to you, oh Allah, but every time I'm praying, my mind is wandering elsewhere. La ilaha. There is none worthy of worship but you. When I'm praying, my mind doesn't wander elsewhere. When I genuinely need Allah's help, I don't pray half-heartedly, thinking that, Ya Allah, if you give me this, then that's great. If not, I know a brother that can sort me out. La ilaha. He is the only one. When the Imam says, what is loyalty? The Holy Prophet of Islam says, loyalty is testifying to La ilaha illallah and sticking with it. Hazrat Zahra salamullah alayha, in her khutbah of Fadakiyah, which she delivers, or she is forced to deliver in the court of the Caliph, she goes there, and when she's introducing Tawheed, the opening line is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah kalimatun ja'ala al-ikhlasa ta'wilaha, that I bear witness that there is one God and He is worthy of worship. Kalimatun ja'ala al-ikhlasa ta'wilaha. This sentence, its true tafsir, can only be given with your actions. Its tafsir can only be given with your actions. And this is the family that will teach you Tawheed. This is that family that will bring you towards Tawheed. This is that family that taught the Malaika in the heavens. The Holy Prophet of Islam is sitting in Masjid al-Nabawi. This riwayat is given by Awan Ahmadi in his book. The Holy Prophet of Islam is sitting in the masjid with Jibreel, and they're having a conversation. Amir al-Mu'mineen walks in, Jibreel stands up. Amir al-Mu'mineen walks in, Jibreel stands up seeing Amir al-Mu'mineen. Rasulullah turns around and says, Ya Jibreel, did you stand for this youth, this Ali that walked in? He said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, I stood for Ali. Rasulullah says, why? He says, Ya Rasulullah, this youth, he has the status of a teacher over me. Rasulullah says, Jibreel, how? He says, Ya Rasulullah, when I was created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to me, and once He'd created me, He addressed me and said that, who am I and what is my name? And who are you and what is your name? Ya Rasulullah, I didn't know what to say, so I said, Ana wa anta anta, I am I and you are you. And again the question came from Allah, who am I and what is my name? And who are you and what is your name? Again, Ya Rasulullah, I didn't know what to say, so again I repeated that line, I am I and you are you. He said the third time when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked me, now His whole jalal began to manifest. Now the anger of Allah, His power began to manifest. فَتَحَيَّرْتَ فِي الْجَوَابِ, I became at a loss. I became so stuck that I was unable to answer. And when I'd lost all hope, oh "Oh Rasulullah, from behind me a voice came and said, don't say I am I and you are you, but instead say Anta Rabbul Jalil wa ismuka al-Jamil wa ana Abdul Zalil wa ismi Jibra'il." That say that you are Rabbi Jalil, your name is Jamil, my name, I am your humble servant, and my name is Jibra'il. When I gave this answer, Ya Rasulullah, the reply came from Allah, Anta Sayyidul Malaika, that today I have made you the leader of all the Malaika. Ya Rasulullah, when I turned around to see who came to help me at this time, or should I say when I turned around to see who my Mushkil Kusha was, I turned around and saw this man standing in the state of Nur. These are the ones that taught the Malaika. This is the Ali that is the Imam of Ibrahim. How? Al-Qatara is the book. Also, Fada'il al-Haydariya also has this riwayat in it. It says that someone came to the Holy Prophet and brought the ayat of the Quran, وَإِنَّ مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ لَا Ibrahim. And Ibrahim was one of his Shi'as. And they asked Rasulullah that, "Oh Rasulullah, what does this ayat mean?" The Holy Prophet of Islam says, the tafsir of this ayat is in this story, that we were all in alam al-dhar, we were all at the atomic level before creation. Nothing had been created. I was sitting with all the anbiya of Allah. We were all sitting together when all of a sudden a light as bright as the moon was seen drifting towards us, and around it was surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of stars. Ibrahim Nabi asked, "Whose light is this? This light that is like the moon, and who are these stars around it?" The reply came that this is the light of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the stars around it are his Shi'as. At that point Ibrahim said, "Oh Allah, make me one of the Shi'as of Ali." And then this is the interpretation of this ayat. This is that family that taught the world Tawheed. That Ali that taught Ibrahim. That Ali that was the Imam of Ibrahim. That Ali who was the teacher of Jibra'il. That Ali has one dua. And the Urdu poet puts it beautifully. Says, "Abbas, tera sani dunya mein nahi mumkin." Abbas, tera sani dunya mein nahi mumkin. Dunya ko jo deta hai, usne tujhe manga hai. Dunya ko jo deta hai, usne tujhe manga hai. Abbas was asked by Amir al-Mu'mineen for Karbala. You want to see determination manifest? Then look at the entity of Al-Abbas. The final letter that Imam al-Hussein writes from Karbala to his brother Muhammad al-Hanafiya, which I recited at the start of my lecture, has one line in it to his brother. This is the final letter. One letter he sends to his brother, gives to his brother as his will. The one with the famous line, إِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ لِطَلِبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ. But this is a second letter that Imam sends from Karbala to his brother Muhammad al-Hanafiya. This letter also appears in Bihar al-Anwar and a number of other books of hadith, where Imam writes one line to his brother. He says, كَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ وَكَأَنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. That you should know, my brother, that the dunya will be destroyed, and the akhirah is such a thing that it will never perish. And Abbas understood this. This is what gave him his determination. He sacrifices everything for the sake of his Imam. Learn loyalty from Hazrat Abbas. Abbas, we're leaving Medina. Yes, Abu Abdullah. Abbas, we're going to Mecca. Abbas, we're leaving Mecca. He goes with him. Abbas, this desert in the middle of nowhere, Karbala, we are going to set our tents here. He sets up the tents. Abbas moved the tents, because at one point Ahlul Bayt had to move the tents. They were forced away. He says, okay. So he moves the tents. On the 9th of Ashura, Abbas go and ask for 9th of Muharram, Abbas go and ask for one extra night, because inni uhibbu salah, because I love to pray. This is the commander of an army, the one that is famous from Siffin, and he's going to the army of Yazid when no one in that army can match him in courage, in strength, in bravery, in the fighting ability. But he goes because his master has told him. Learn loyalty from Hazrat Abbas, such that he's at the banks of Furat, and now he can drink. He picks up the water and then addresses himself. He says, "O Nafs, will you drink when your master Hussein is thirsty?" And he throws it away. जब हवा में कुछ नमी महसूस की अब्बास ने, एहतियातन अपने सांस रोक लिए अब्बास ने, मौजे को सर उठाकर देखती रह गई, इतनी ऊंचाई पर रखती तिश्नगी अब्बास ने. This is that level. Learn loyalty from Hazrat Abul Fadl Abbas. When you give everything for the sake of your Imam, the only one thing Abbas wanted to do from the first day that he was born until the death of his father, he was told, Abbas, you are for Karbala. Abbas, defend Hussein in Karbala. And the only thing he wanted to do was defend his brother. But even then, at the order of his brother, his Imam, he puts all of that desire to one side. And this is why he becomes Bab al-Hawa'ij. Because he sacrificed everything for his Imam, and anyone that uses his name and praise will have their du'as accepted. In Karbala, dying was easy. Staying alive was the hard part. Because when one stayed alive, then he would continue to hear the al-Atash of the children of Hussein. If he stayed alive, then he would constantly see the bodies coming back. Every time Abbas would go to Imam al-Hussein, Imam would look at him and say, Abbas, anta sahibu liwa'i wa anta kabshu katibati. That Abbas, you are my flag bearer. You are the commander of my army. Abbas, how can I send you out? So then he would go back again. And then when all the companions had died, again he came and stood in front of Imam. And Imam looks at him again and says, Abbas, anta sahib liwa'i. Abbas, you are my commander. You are the one that is my flag bearer. How can I send you out, Abbas? And then Abbas returns again. But then after a few of the Shuhada have gone from Banu Hashim, Abbas comes again in the same state. He stands in front of Abu Abdullah. And again Imam al-Hussein gives him the same answer, and again Abbas does not say anything, but now the tears that are streaming down the eyes of Abbas are saying, Oh Mawla, where is that army left? Where is that army for whom I am the commander? Give me permission to go out and fight. At this point Imam says that Abbas, if you want to go out, then I do not give you permission to fight.
This is why he is Bab al-Hawa'ij. Abbas, I do not give you permission to go out and fight, but I give you permission to go and get water for Sakina. Go and get water for the children of Ali Muhammad. This is the only shaheed of Karbala that was not given permission to fight. He was ordered to go out and bring water back. Abbas goes, he battles his way to the banks of Furat. He fills the water canister that he has with him with water and begins to come back. They realize, the army of Yazid realize that they cannot fight Abbas one-on-one. Instead, they decide to hide in the palm trees, in the date trees. And as Abbas rides, one man attacks him and he cuts off the right arm of Hazrat Abbas. Abbas takes that water into his left hand and begins to ride again. The only thought in Abbas's eye, the only thought in Abbas's mind is that I should reach, and this water should reach Sakina and the children of Aba Abdullah. When again another one comes and he strikes off the left arm of Hazrat Abbas, he takes the water bag in his mouth now, and Abbas begins to ride. Hormala says that I realized that now the heart of Abbas was in this bag of water, so I fired an arrow into the bag. As the water began to pour out, so did all of that desire of Abbas, and then I fired the second arrow into the eye of Abbas, and Abbas fell from the horse. Now you've heard it many times and you hear it every year, but again I pose this question to you: how does a man fall from a horse that has no arms? How does he fall? Abbas falls to the ground upon his face. He cries out, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. There are four things that happen simultaneously when Abbas cries out. The first one is Aba Abdullah, who is watching the battle, falls to the ground clutching his back. Now my back has been broken, Abbas. The second thing that happens, Sakina, that water glass that she was holding in her hands, all the children that she had prepared, she smashes the glass and says, oh Uncle Abbas, I will never ask for water, just come back to me one last time, oh Uncle Abbas. The third thing that happens is that Zainab cries out, Wa hijaba, and she faints, because now Zainab knows that what her father Ali had told her in Kufa is to come true. And the fourth cry came from the army of Yazid: kill Hussein, because now Hussein is gharib. Kill Hussein because Hussein is all alone. I don't know how Aba Abdullah reached the body of Hazrat Abbas. Only a brother will know how hard it must be to reach the body of his dying brother. But however Aba Abdullah reaches, one alim would recite that Abul Fadl al-Abbas, hearing the footsteps, because his eye was injured and the other eye was filled with blood, he had no arms to wipe the blood away. He was unable to differentiate who was coming towards him. Though as Aba Abdullah approached his brother, hearing the footsteps, the lips of Abbas began to move, and they said, the alim would recite that Abbas said, "Oh Zalim," thinking he was an enemy, that, "Oh enemy, if you are wanting to kill me, just wait a few moments, my brother Hussein is coming to see me. Allow me to see him one last time and then do as you please." I don't know whether Abul Fadl al-Abbas was alive when Aba Abdullah reached him or not. We have various riwayat concerning this, but there is this point. There are four reasons as to why the body of Abbas was not taken back to the camps. There are four reasons. The first reason the ulama say is that it was the request of Abul Fadl al-Abbas that do not take my body back to the camps. I cannot bear that the children see my body. I cannot bear that Zainab sees my body. The second reason is that Imam had said that my back has been broken, as if to say, now I have lost all my strength, and he was unable to lift the body of Abbas and bring it back. The third reason they say is that the army of Yazid began to attack the camps of Aba Abdullah. Seeing that Hazrat Abbas was gone, they began to attack the women. So Imam al-Hussein had to go back with speed. And then the fourth reason that the ulama give is that the body of Abbas had been trampled by the horses and it was no longer in a state to take back.